welcome back to the video. This will be the final part in the Gladiator plot prediction video. And I already know that parts 1 and 2 combined, I think are already longer than the actual film, which, you know, I'm sorry. If you want to know how my prediction ends, you can see in the video like how long this will going to be. Like, will I keep this shorter than the first two? Probably not. Okay, so the problem with the third part of this series is that this is the one that I am most nervous about, right? So with parts 1 and 2, I was like, okay, so part 1, I was rather convinced, and I still am, that this is more or less how the story is going to go. Same goes for the second part, like the Geta assassination, I'm pretty sure about that. You know, like this is what happened. So there's not much room. But anything else, you know, it's, you know, obviously there will be more in the film. Like, I'm just scratching the surface. Like, I hope there will be more. There must be lots of plotting and scheming. There must be more gladiatorial combat, which I just didn't mention because A, we don't see a lot of that in the film, and B, this is not really interesting to hear because obviously I can't reenact that, right? So I do think there is more. There is more bonding time between these two. We see all of that, right? So we're just covering the main plot points. So the thing is, part 3, which I, by the way, call Strength and Honor, so very creative. Part 3 really builds off of what we have built up in parts 1 and 2, right? So if I went wrong somewhere in the first part, obviously that ran through the second part up until now, right? So we'll just see, you know, we'll just see. For example, what could go wrong? Like, what could go wrong? What if Junior is dead? You know, Junior will play a part in this part. Like, Junior's been pretty quiet for most of the film, you know. They're you know, can you see them? I'm sorry, my light is, yeah. Well, I'm sure you can see them. So, Junior has been pretty quiet with Lucia. I'm pretty sure she doesn't bring them along to the games. Like, I don't know, maybe she does. Maybe she's trying to keep them secret, you know, just to protect them from, you know, various people. We don't know. So, I don't know. But we'll build off of what we have for part 3. So this is all the climactic moments. This is how the story hopefully resolves. And maybe this is how we leave off for a third film, you know. We'll see about that. Will Lucius make it out alive? Question mark. What about Marcus? Will he die now? What about Caracalla? Will Macrinus get the throne? We'll see about that. Is Junior still alive? You know. Okay, so quick recap of where I left you off after part 2. So there was a lot of plotting and scheming in part 2. Lots of plotting and scheming. Mainly from Macrinus, who was trying to figure out why Lucilla was so interested in Lucius, right? The fact that she was interested in, not unusual. Lots of people loved gladiators. They were like the typical, the ideal of a Roman soldier. Like, they faced death literally every day, like in the arena. You know, they also were trained athletes. They were very physical. People were like, oh my god, people had the hots for them, right? Because Roman people knew, they knew, that it is a truth universally acknowledged, that a man is his most attractive when he's on the brink of death, right? So that makes, especially Paulie here, very, very attractive, right? So the fact that she is interested in him, not too weird. The fact that she's only interested in him, a bit suspicious. a son she sent away after Commodus's death, because he's the heir to the throne, right? Okay, but he still needs Lucius. He's the people's favorite. Everybody loves him, you know. But he's like, okay, good. How do we get rid of Lucilla? Well, we need to get rid of her. We need to get rid of Marcus. We need to get rid of Geta and Carga. Like, he wants everybody dead. Like, everyone on the board is like, they're on his list. You know? He's like, okay, what do we do? He and Caracalla plotting against Geta and Marcus, who are in a reluctant alliance, but you know. So these two set up a coup. They murder Geta, frame Marcus for it, and threaten to hurt Lucilla as well, right? So Geta is dead. Marcus is about to be executed. Caracalla is still around, but Macrinus is like, yeah, we'll get to that later. Same with Lucilla, you know. So we left off with that big showdown between Lucius and his nemesis, Marcus Acacius, right? We also left off knowing that Lucius finally learned that his real father was not Lucius Verus, but Maximus over here. So the idea of legacy, you know, running through part 3 is like, what? Okay, not just heir to the throne, but also heir to these sandals. Like, okay, so Lucius fighting Marcus. Like, this is a big fight. Like, this is huge. This is huge. We already have established that poor Pedro over here is, you know, he's not as fit as Lucius. He's a bit older. He's tired. You know, he's exhausted. He's been through corporate culture too long. Like, he's like, no. He doesn't want to do it anymore. No, he also knows that Lucius is Lucilla's son, so he doesn't want to kill him, right? He's just trying to defend himself at this point. But Lucius is going all in. He's like, no. I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. But will he? Yeah. We left off at the moment where Marcus is on the ground. He's disarmed. Lucius standing above him, ready to take the final strike. The masses screaming. They're excited. They want to see some blood. You know, they want to see the traitor dead. They want to see their favorite champion execute this terrible man. They're like, yeah, let's do this. So Lucius over here, looking around at all these faces, cheering, going wild. Macrinus being very content with himself. And maybe, this is the day that Lucilla finally decided to bring Lucius Jr. to the arena. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but, well, it would make dramatic sense in the sense that he looks around, he thinks he's lost everything. His wife, his child, his home, everyone's dead. But then he sees they're still alive. And not just that, they are with Lucilla, you know? So his family is still around, kind of, right? He looks at them, it's like, oh, well, killing Marcus wouldn't bring Diana back, right? It would just mean murdering Mom's boyfriend, you know? Like, lots of thoughts in his head, lots to think about. But then everybody is like, no, why are you hesitating? Go for it, let's do this. Caracalla is like, Gladiator, kill him. Just, you know, do it. I tell you to. You know, and I'm the emperor. Like, he's having this very much only child energy. Because finally he is, right? So he's like, yeah, do it. Do as I tell you. Channeling his inner Joffrey here. He's like, kill him. Kill him. And Lucius is like, wait a minute. So, what epiphany does he get? Well, first of all, he realizes that he's actually not really angry. Like, obviously, he was, you know. He's lost his wife. He thought he lost his child. He thought his mom didn't love him. He thought his dad didn't love him. Like, maybe he still thinks that, right? But he's like, revenge brought my father to the grave, you know? Do I want my child to learn that lesson too? Right? It's like anger. Like, anger doesn't get me anywhere. And then he realizes that it's actually not anger that he's feeling. It's grief. He's grieving. He's grieving his wife. He's grieving his life. He's grieving the life that he could have had with his mom, the childhood. You know, in the first film, like, he sleeps safe and sound. And there's a scene where his mom and his uncle, his creepy uncle, they watch him sleep. And his uncle is like, yeah, he can sleep so well because he's loved, right? So he was loved in the first film, as twisted as it was, right? He was loved. And he mourns this time. He grieves his lost childhood. He grieves the time that he could have had with his wife and child. He's grieving, right? That's the lesson. There's a beautiful C.S. Lewis quote that says, I sat with my anger long enough until she told me her real name was grief. And that's it, you know, 5 stages of grief. He finally accepts. It's like, she won't get me back. Like, killing Marcus over here doesn't get me back what I've lost. It just takes more, you know, it just means killing someone else. And he's already killed a lot of people. But still, you know, people are like, kill him. You know, kill him. And then, another epiphany. Like, he is going through a lot in this moment. Lots of thoughts. He realizes, I believe this to be like another Katniss moment. Like, think of Catching Fire. Like that final scene when Katniss is about to shoot the arrow at Finnick. And Finnick is like, no, Katniss, remember who the real enemy is. And Lucius is like, I remember who the real enemy is. That is the tyrants in power, you know, the people who changed the Roman Empire from this glorious idea that it was to this place of corruption and greed and, you know, not a good place. It's like, who's the real enemy? Like, these are, you know? So, how about I defy them? And he doesn't kill him. He does not. He does not kill Marcus. Instead, he looks at the crowd and asks, is this how Rome treats its heroes? Because remember, when Marcus came back from his conquest of Numidia, like, people were cheering for him. They were applauding his victory. Like, he was a real war hero to them, right? And now they want him dead, like in the course of months, right? Basically, their reign only lasted for less than a year, I think. So over the course of months, people have turned 180. You know, it's like, is this how Rome treats its heroes? Because I won't do it. Because he also realized one thing. In order to beat the Roman Empire, in order to beat these tyrants, he has to become so much worse, right? And he doesn't want to do it anymore. He doesn't want to do it. So these two, like, there's a sad parallel between these two. Like, being like, no, I no longer want to kill. Yeah. Okay, so Marcus, not dead. But didn't I say that he will make it out alive of this movie? No, he won't. I didn't say that it was Lucius to kill him. I think it must be someone else. Right? So the problem is, Marcus knows too much. Right? Marcus has to die. Also, Marcus as a character, as I said, is beyond redemption. Like, all the things that he did, like, there is no good justification. With him, we can bend our morals a little bit. We can be like, well, it was a traumatic event to lose his wife. Like, is it okay to kill other people? No. But did he have a good reason? Yeah, well, kind of. So we can excuse that. And he's like, no, I want to do better. And also, he's the hero of this film, right? It's like, there is more to come, right? He has to take down the villains. Marcus's arc, however, is complete, right? He already tried to help him. He probably set up something with his soldiers to be like, don't follow Macrinus. Like, they know. They're like, yeah, remember Maximus. Remember Maximus. Because he was the one he looked up to. And maybe he knows that Lucilla and Maximus, had a thing going on. And Lucius here is their secret love child. Maybe, probably not, but doesn't matter. Like, I don't think she shared that many secrets with him. I do think they are very open in their communication, which I love, but I don't know, right? So, but his arc, however, is complete, which means he doesn't make it out alive of this arena. He's going to die. And because Caracalla will not do it himself, we have Macrinus do it. Well, it will be embarrassing if he actually kills him. Again, if Marcus kills the child, I'm shocked. If Lucius kills Marcus, I'm shocked. I'm like, what? Well, so I don't think this is going to happen. But he has to die. Like, would it be nice if he made it out alive too? Yes. But this is too much of a dysfunctional family for him to be part of it. They already have a lot of therapy to go to, right? So no. My call is that he doesn't make it up, And we're sad. We're sad about that. Because even though he is this kind of villain character, he's not, but he has villain qualities, which, not really, but he's this misunderstood villain, just like Medusa, who's actually just a victim of the circumstances, right? So we're sad for him. We're sad to let him go. And I really hope that he will not die like that. No. Okay. But I think it will be a more, further approach. So maybe our friend Macrinus here has someone else just, shoot him with an arrow, stab him, whatever. Right? So he is going to die. And he's probably, because, if this character has to die, he has to die grand. He has to go out with a bang. So he dies in Lucius's arms. And he probably just lets him know some of his wisdom. He's like, okay, so then he has to know that Maximus was his father. He's like, you have the qualities of your father. Something like that. Something cheesy, We already have a lot of cheese here, but make it more cheesy. Ridley Scott, like that script writer asked Ridley Scott, like, how much cheese do you want? And Ridley Scott was like, yes. So, something cheesy going on between these two. Like, Lucius finally, finds a way of forgiveness, more or less, for Marcus. Marcus can finally let go because he cannot forgive himself. He needs absolution from someone else, right? And that can only be Lucius. Lucius, whose life he turned upside down, whose wife he kind of murdered, but he is the one to grant him absolution, right? So Marcus dies in Lucius' arms, says something cheesy about Maximus, about strength and honor, something like that, And he's also like, Rome, like the dream of Rome lives in you, right? In the first film, I just learned, a piece of the music for the first film was called Rome is the Light. And who is the light? Lucius, whose name is light. So Lucius is the hope for the empire, right? Marcus is like, you are our only hope, or something, something cheesy. And then he dies, Then he dies. It's sad. Lucilla starts to cry, no, she can't take it. Lucius is like, oh, I think I found new motivation. Killing a major character, some character who is kind of important for the main character, always means that it gives them more drive for something, right? And we are in the final part of this film, so we need some more motivation, some final drive for Lucius to take the empire apart, kind of, Is that very realistic? Well, so Ridley Scott referred to Geta and Caracalla as this reverse Romulus and Remus because while Romulus and Remus were the founding fathers of Rome, he kind of considers these two the end of it. And I'm like, Again, we're 211, and the Roman Empire lasted for another 250 years. So it's a bit of a stretch. But this is an epic movie, so we're like, okay, we can have some creativity, So his idea is to take down the empire. Very ambitious. But, nothing he can't do. We love him. Yeah, he's done nothing wrong. We love it. So, now that Marcus is dead, Macronus is pretty sad. He's like, cool. Him is out of the way. Get out of the way. But we need to take care of Caracalla. Yeah, but we can do that. Don't worry. But still, what is it with this one rogue soldier? Also, he defied the commands of the emperor. He did not kill as he was told to. So what do we do with him? Obviously, we need to punch him somehow. We need to figure out a way to do that. Right? So, Macrinus here, still in his plotting and scheming mode. It's like, what went down between these two? What is it? Did they know each other? Apart from Lucius trying to murder him, why did he change his mind? And he probably asked him, and he's like, I have given you everything. Popularity, riches, food, whatever it was, he has lived the best life an enslaved gladiator can live. Probably, the bar is low, right? The bar is low. But he's like, I've given you everything. Just trying to gaslight his way into it. He's like, I've given you everything. And this is how you thank me. Not doing this. It's like, yeah, I changed my mind. Why would I? And he must say something, so that he gets even more suspicious. As he has to use Lucilla somehow She's like, that that girl, Lucilla, she's not safe with me, you know? She, wife to this traitor, what if she were, to be put in a dire situation? What if she isn't safe? Something. He has to thread Lucy. So Lucilla, again, the leverage. She's like, oh, poor girl. And she's had enough of everyone's shenanigans, right? She's like, oh, so tired of everything, right? So Macrinus is not happy. He's like, you will do as I tell you. I will make sure of that. Leaving. Not happy. We know that something's cooking. He's like, oh. The gladiator trainer also has an eye on Lucy. It's like, what is it? Like, as the right hand, he gets promotion because Macrinus gets promotion. Like, okay. So again, the Senate, fond of Macrinus. The military, well, some of them probably, because since Caracalla now is the only emperor, he's like, well, I have to make sure people like me. How does he do that? Well, the historical Caracalla, this is why I rely on history. Like, one, he raised the salary for the soldiers, right? So soldiers were like, we love Caracalla, Yeah, sure. Buying his loyalty, he's like, sure, let's do this. I don't know, at this point it would be interesting to see whether the imperial throne is a little bit in debt. Since Macrinus over here is so rich, I would like to see a storyline where some money changes hands, some money flows down from these two into his hands. For example, through the games, or he's financing some project, something. Or he's offering to finance a campaign or something. So in that case, Caracalla would be like, yeah, I want to raise people's salary, but I don't have enough money. So he's like, don't worry, I'll take care of that. I'll make sure everyone's paid. And he makes sure everybody knows that it's not actually Caracalla who's raising the salaries, but Macrinus. So that the soldiers are like, well, Macrinus, good man. Good man. Also, what else does Caracalla do? He also grants every free person in Rome citizen status. Right? And I'm not sure if that historically also applies to freed persons. Why not? Because in this case, suddenly Macrinus, the former enslaved person, now free man, rich man, it's like, how about I think of a political career, And the Senate is like, well, he's got the money, now he's also a Roman citizen, he's basically one of us. And he's been friends with the senators, he's making friends with them over the course of the film. So they're all like, Macrinus, yeah, we're voting for him, we like him. So Caracalla is like, okay, my most trusted advisor, Macrinus. Like, how about you just tell me what to do next? Like, I don't think Caracalla, like, the historical Caracalla, as I heard in these podcasts, was a more strategic person. He was a military emperor. Like, the soldiers did like him, partly because of the salary raise and stuff, but he was one of them. He fought with them, hung out with them, whatever. So I think they have to change that a little bit in the film to make him like this kind of brat character, not in the good sense. So he's so annoying. People don't like him, and and we will not be too sad when he goes to. Right? With Geta, we're like, yeah, he's not a good person, but, you know, he could have been. There was a point where he could have turned, but then he was killed. Right? With Caracalla, however, he's like, no, we're at the point of no return here. Like, he has murdered his brother, that's bad. and he hasn't murdered him, like, or killed him to save his own life, but he did this for very selfish reasons, right? Which is not a good way, like, you know, to gain people's favor, right? So, Caracalla over here is like, yeah, well, what to next? McGrath's like, you know, Alexander, you know what Alexander the Great would do? You know, he would conquer the East. You know, he would go east. And Caracalla is like, oh, the East. You know, why the East? Because they did go east. They did a campaign in the East, fighting against the Parthians, right? So, Caracalla's like, great idea. Let's go. McGrath's like, you know, you probably need some more weapons, you know, but don't worry, I can provide that. No problem. You know, so at this point, he's basically controlling the supply for the army in Europe, as well as about to supply the army in the East, right? So he's like, I am about to control an empire. Caracalla doesn't get that. Like, I know neither of them got to the throne because of their smartness, but like, he really has it coming. You know? He's like, so naive. Like, my naive little villain here. Like, I'm almost sorry for him. Oh, his little smile over here. Yeah. So it's like, well, you have it coming, right? So Macrinus is like, well, we'll do that. But first, to save your life, to make sure that no one will ever stand up against you, we have to make sure that none of the supporters of Getas is still around, right? So we have to purge Rome of Geta's supporters. Caracalla's like, great idea. Wanted to say that too. Like, just my idea. So they're doing that, right? So Caracalla also, like, historically, like, part 3 is just trying to piece together history into this story, right? So Caracalla, like, after murdering his brother, actually had his memory erased throughout the empire. So every statue there was, every wall painting there was, like, he had people destroy Geta's face, scratch it out, something. So he was like, Geta is not to be remembered. You know, no. People will not remember. Like, even their mother, who's not in the film, like, their mother was not allowed to mourn Geta's death. Otherwise, that would have been treason and she would have been executed. Which, just a lovely family, you know? Just, yeah, we love it. So, Caracalla is like, yeah, let's erase my brother's memory, which is ironic because a bit earlier in the film, like, at least in the trailer, Geta shouts at someone and says, your name will be forgotten. And now it's, you know, sad irony that it will be Geta's name who's erased. He's not forgotten from history, obviously, but he doesn't know that. And Caracalla's like, yeah, let's make sure everybody forgets about my brother. Like, he never existed. Right? So it's Romulus and Rome, and not Reem. Right? So he's like, yeah, Romulus here. So he's like, sure. Who is in cahoots with my brother? You know, let's get rid of them. So Macrinus was like, I got a list for you. Now, lots of people on that list. Basically, everybody who was against Macrinus in the Senate, like every person who didn't want to be his friend, who was a bit suspicious or snobbish, like everybody everybody who was not nice to Macrinus on the list, right? It's like, yeah, here you got that list. And who's also on the list? Lucilla, right? Because what is the idea? Macrinus is like, well, in order to make sure that whatever it is between these two, we gotta get rid of Lucilla. And we also kind of have to break Lucius. Maybe his idea is like, I have to break him. For some reason he thinks he can do that. I don't know. So he's like, Lucilla, just with the other senators, has to be executed. And who would be best to do this? Of course, our friend Lucius over here. So, Lucilla, wearing this lovely white gown, is like, she's arrested. She's arrested. And for some reason, I don't know how, maybe it's because Lucius made a lot of friends in the dungeon. Maybe it's because our gladiator trainer here had a change of heart. We don't know. For some reason, she again gets into his cell to have a little heart-to-heart with her son. I don't know how. Like, technically, at this point, she should be arrested too. Like, yeah. But there she is. And the two of them finally reconcile. It's very lovely. He's like, you know what? I'm no longer angry. I'm sorry. She's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I sent you away. I'm sorry you thought that I didn't love you. But, I'm sorry. I'm so happy you're still around. These two, they reconcile. It's lovely. And then she gives him some family heirloom. And that is, again, very kitschy. So, that is a ring. Also, Lucius is wearing a ring, and I'm convinced, like, on his little finger, and I'm convinced that's his wife's wedding band or something. Something also a bit kitschy, but she's still around. She's still with him. We love that, right? So Lucilla gives Lucius a ring. Whose ring was it? Obviously, Maximus's ring. And it's also engraved in the ring, so that nobody forgets. Right? So everybody knows that she still has this ring, right? I wonder what Pedro thought of it, but okay. So she gives him the ring. It's like, here it is. This ring belonged to Maximus, and now I want you to have it. And he's like, oh my god, Daddy's old ring, Yeah. He's very moved by this, and as they've just reconciled, I think this is cute. It's a bit kitschy, but it's also fine, right? So he got that ring. And for some reason, I don't know what the reason is, but for some reason, he's in the cell, or he's at least close to the cell, where they keep Maximus's old armor. And you can't see that here. Is that even? No, it's not the armor. It's not the armor, sad. Well, but he had a very distinguishable armor with a breastplate that had 2 horses on them, right? So, and we can see from most of the trailer that Lucius is not wearing that. Like, he's wearing the breastplate with his circular whatever structure. And then he looks at this armor. It's like, time for legacy, I'm wearing Daddy's ring, can as well wear his armor. Like, I don't know, why would they keep that in the first place? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's because people were so fans. Like, I don't know. I would think that a defiant gladiator's, like, armor and regalia, whatever, is not actually what you want to keep in your new enslaved gladiator's quarters. But again, it's for the plot, right? For some reason, and I'm sure it's a good reason, they still have the armor. And for another reason that I cannot fathom, Lucius can just take it off the wall and be like, yeah, I'm gonna wear that. Yeah, I don't know. He has a good reason. Like, probably, maybe again, maybe our gladiator trainer here is like, well, Macrinus is not a good person, obviously, so I can as well side with you. And nobody holds a grudge against him, who's been so cruel to everyone, but obviously everyone's like, sure, welcome to the club. I don't know. So Lucius, who's made lots of friends over the course of the film, is now like, yeah, all the gladiators, he's got all of them behind him. Very convenient, right? But now also, he's wearing Maximus's armor. And he's telling them that I'm wearing my father's armor. And they're like, oh my god, you really are Maximus's son? Like, amazing. Of course, like, whatever it was, we thought maybe you're weird or something. No. Now we follow you. He's like, sure, okay. And then he, like, has all of them assembly in that dungeons, and they're having their little strength and honor moment where everybody raises their swords and is like, yeah, strength and honor. Very emotional. Also a bit cheesy, but yeah, we love that. Sitting in the cinema, we will eat that up. You know, we'll be like, oh my god, goosebumps. So that would be the moment, right? So our friend Lucius here literally grows into his father's armor. And also, by taking down that armor that marks him as one of Macrinus's gladiators, he moves away from him. He's like, no. Cutting ties with him. Yeah. Okay, so, the purge. Wait a second. So, we have a purge. As I said, we have lots of people on the list of Macrinus being like, yeah, get rid of them to save your life, Caracalla. Caracalla, the little puppy that he is like, sure, let's do this. Like, also, like, I think he like, his puppy crush for Marcus over here is now kind of transferred to Macrinus, because obviously Marcus fell from grace, because, you know, he sided with his brother. Like, not good. So he's like, well, now I've got someone else who knows a lot about military, you know, who shares my love for Alexander the Great, and who can help me become the greatest emperor of all. Forget Alexander the Great. Here comes Caracalla the greatest, you know. Okay, so he's like, sure, we'll have all of them executed. So they're all gathered in the Colosseum. They're all gathered in the arena. There's a scene in the trailer. Again, this is just guessing. I'm like, what is this? There's a scene where there are, like, basically 2 rows of people wearing white, like the senators. 2 rows of people standing on the sands next to some kind of wooden structure, and on that structure is kind of a pole, and someone's tied to that pole. And that someone looks very female, wearing a white gown, and I guess that's her, right? So, and Lucius coming up onto the sand, and is supposed to kill everyone, right? But of course he doesn't. Like, of course. He's like, no, I'm gonna save my mother. Yeah, that's lovely. So, Lucius kind of cuts down, like, the soldiers, or, like, you know. And then all the other gladiators storm the arena, and they, too, fight the soldiers, you know. And this is Caracalla being like, this is war, real war. Like, he's almost excited, you know, he's almost excited. He's basically on the battlefield, like, right in front of him. Like, no more reenactment. He's like, oh my god, this is real. Amazing. So the gladiators revolt, like, having a little revolt, fighting all the soldiers. The soldiers clearly, you know, yeah, they're defeated very easily, right? And Caracalla, yeah, I would kill him here. Yeah, in the midst of chaos, you know, stray arrow, something, you know, something. technically, Macrinus and Caracalla actually went on campaign to the east, and on their way somewhere, Caracalla needed a little bit of privacy. He needed to pee, right? And Macrinus had someone sent after him to stab him. This is not a, does that look good on television? I don't know. Like, maybe Ridley Scott's like, yeah, no, we'll embed that into a bigger scene, just people traveling. No, not really. We don't know, right? So Caracalla, obviously, killed by Macrinus. Macrinus like, Caracalla, I guess he has a moment of revelation where he's like, oh my god, I did trust the wrong person. Yeah. Too bad, very sad. But moving on, Caracalla's dead, Ghetto's dead. So all the emperors dead, Macrinus like, amazing. Obviously, the Senate, like the ones who are still alive, are like, what happens now? Like, the throne is vacant. What happened? The military cannot control the gladiators. Like, these are very trained and very popular people. They're on the loose or something. It's chaos. It's chaos in Rome. People also having a little bit of a revolt because, food shortages or something, they have a reason. They're not happy with the upper class, right? So the senators don't know what to do. And Macrinus is like, well, I could do that, but to restore power, to restore order, I need power. And the senators are like, give it, no problem. You get that, you restore order, and that's good. Right? So Macrinus is like, great. Sure, let's do this. And he's named the new emperor. I'm not sure if it's that easy. Like, technically, again, like, historical records, after having murdered Caracalla, he just named himself emperor. Like, there were some soldiers around, he's like, yeah, I'm the new emperor now. And everyone was like, yeah, sure, right? But again, like, film Macrinus is not the very same person as historic Macrinus, I guess. Like, also, the historical person, like, wasn't someone from aristocracy, neither is he. Like, it was someone rich, who knew about the military and stuff. But I don't think they were an arms dealer or something. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we got Macrinus, now named emperor, right? Questionable, but like, he made a lot of friends in the Senate. I don't know why no one of the senators obviously is like, well, how about me? Like, I don't know. He probably bought them, or he knows something about them to use against them. Like, he's smart. He made sure that people will not rise up against him, right? He's very smart. So, everyone's dead. These are all gone. Very sad. Very sad. But it's still, we still got some minutes to go in the film. It's like, this cannot be the end. This cannot be. What about these two? What about these two? And now that Lucius has freed his mom, like, she's on the run, I don't know where. Like, she's hiding somewhere. She will be safe. Like, we will not hurt Lucilla. Like, Lucilla is safe. Like, it would shock me if she died. If she died dramatically. I don't know. But, also, like, could she die? Yes. She could kind of sacrifice herself for her son for some reason. That would be dramatic, but, we still need to reveal Lucius's identity. And I think the only person who can actually do that is Lucilla. So we still need her for a little longer, right? Okay, so Macrinus, the new emperor. Lucius, no longer following his orders, has his own group of rogue gladiators. Lucilla's around. Like, now Lucius got all, like, basically his own legion or something. Yeah, and this is where he realizes that, oh my god, did he ever want that? No. But anyway, so they have to take over somehow. Like, I'm not quite sure about this final showdown. I'm not quite sure about that, but it's not happening in the Colosseum, right? It's not happening. So they're somewhere outside of Rome. So he gathered his own army. Macrinus gathered an army. And there is some final fight between these two. This is a bit murky, and I'm not quite sure about that one. Let me check my script. So again, like, my first two parts of the script were a bit more elaborated than the third. The third was basically just plot points, like bullet point. I'm not sure, right? So, oh yeah, this is basically it. I was like, okay, so now we got Lucius with his army, people following him, because why not? He's Maximus's son. Maximus, that rogue gladiator, who also was this renowned general. Marcus over here made sure that his soldiers would follow Lucius, and Lucius has the gladiators. Maybe I don't know if the wise friend will still be around, or whether after his wisdom he's no longer needed. Like, I don't know. I want them to survive this movie. Like, you know, we want a little bit of bromance, you know? So it's fine. So Lucius fighting Macrinus. Maybe, again, I don't know. Maybe this individual, like the gladiator trainer over here, maybe he's not part of Lucius's group. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's still around with Macrinus, you know, being like, well, if Macrinus can rise to the top, so can I, you know? Because, like, it would be satisfying to see these two fight. I don't know if that is realistic. Like, no word has reached us that Denzel Washington also trained to fight Brick Wall Paul over here. And I don't know if he would have spoken about this. I don't know. Right? I mean, Pedro was very, very open here. Pedro says, you know, he was like, yeah, wasn't nice. Like, didn't he say that he would rather be thrown off a building than fighting him against something like that, right? So I'm not sure if they're like, yeah, Denzel, go do that too. I'm not quite sure. So maybe their fight will not be as spectacular as their fight, but it has to be like a big showdown and stuff. And we need to get rid of Macrinus somehow, right? So again, he was just stabbed by some soldiers, I think. So he was killed by his own people, which is why maybe our friend, the gladiator trainer here, is still around with Macrinus and just, you know, taking a chance. Like, maybe it's Lucius. Like, it would be more satisfying to watch for our hero's journey if his arc concluded in taking down the enemy, right? Somehow, right? So that would be more satisfying. I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that. Okay? But what is important is that Macrinus 2 doesn't make it out alive of this movie. Like, this is like the Emperor column, as you might have guessed. But they also, like, none of them make it out. Like, they're all dead. I'm not sure about our friend the Gladiator trainer here. Like he's just here because he's Macrinus's right hand, right? But like these are all dead, right? So Lucius is still around, Lucilla is still around, and the imperial throne is vacant. So what happens? What happens? People are like, oh, what now? Well, this was like, well, it just happens that my son, who was lost, is now found. And since I was the, like, late emperor's daughter, like, he's next in line. And the people are surprised. They're like, what? They always thought he was one of them. Like, this is why he was so popular in the first place as a gladiator, right? They were like, oh, also he looks good, and then he's such a great fighter, he's young, and he's just like them. He's just one of the people. Yeah, no. Turns out he's a secret prince. Who would have thought, right? So people are like, oh, well, then, of course, like, he's the one. Like, the Senate is like, sure, like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why would they do that? I don't know. Again, I'm not quite sure if this is realistic, but obviously, he's the one, right? He freed Rome from power-hungry men like these, and now he's the one in charge. Because we all know that the perfect person to wear a crown is the one who doesn't want it, right? This is why he's the Jon Snow of this movie. He has no clue whatsoever. He doesn't want the crown. Like, so, okay. So, people are like, yes, be our next emperor. And this is where it gets tricky. Because, like, even if Ridley Scott is like, yeah, you know, screw history, we'll just create our own epic, right? And he has finally, you know, purged Rome from these power-hungry individuals. Like, he knows the glory of old Rome. He's like, yeah, I want to restore peace. I want to, you know, restore the greatness of the empire. You know, all of that, a bit questionable, but whatever. So, if that's the case, like, can you rewrite history in that case? Because Lucilla, like the historical Lucilla, who was dead by the events of the first film, she did have a son called Lucius, but he died in childhood. But he didn't live for very long, which would work for the whole narrative. Like, that she's like, oh, I hid him somewhere in Numidia, right? And then he came back as a gladiator, but nobody knew, right? Because the person who follows Macrinus on the throne is not Lucius, is someone else. It's actually a distant cousin of Geta and Caracalla's who claims to be Caracalla's illegitimate son, right? And that doesn't quite work for Lucius here. We could argue that, you know, there is someone else in the line, someone younger, because, like, I can't pronounce his name correctly. Elagabalus. Yeah, so that was the one who followed Macrinus. He was a teenager when he got on the throne. And who is in his teenage years? Or almost, right? Maybe a bit younger, but we can bend that, right? Could be. But again, Elagabalus was not a very popular emperor. Like, he's mostly known for debauchery, and like he also didn't reign for very long. Like, neither of them did. Like, they all reigned for like 4 years the most or something. So I don't know what to make of that ending. Like, because, like, for the hero's journey, like, obviously, he's offered the crown, but then he refuses, right? He's like, no, I don't want it. I just want to live in peace with mom, with my child. Like, they could have, like, what I want for them is that they can have that peaceful life that Maximus didn't have. Like, Maximus in the first film thinks of, like, a farmhouse a lot. A farmhouse somewhere in nature, right? And he's thinking of this door, right? So I think it would be a nice image if, even, like, would that be cheesy? Yes. So if Lucilla kind of inherited Maximus's farmhouse, which isn't very realistic because probably his possessions were repossessed by the state, aka Commodus, after his treason. So maybe she got that house back for some reason, right? She got it back. So she, her son, and her grandchild, they all leave Rome behind, move to the countryside, and live in that country house. Now, I would want them to have that ending. That would be nice. And that was my actual plan for the ending, right? So then we can come up with some distant cousin who claims to be Caracalla's illegitimate son, right? Technically, like, he was married, but he didn't really like his wife a lot. This is why I don't mention her. I think he also, I'm not sure if he had her killed or something. Like, he died without children, right? By the way, so did Gator, right? Maybe these two will have some, little love affairs in the film, but what? So maybe there will be a child being like, oh yeah, Caracalla is my father, someone to have a claim to the throne, someone else than Lucius and Junior, right? So these two are like, yeah, I don't want it, you can have it, just leave me alone. And as idealistic as it is, the new heir to the throne would be like, sure, just go. Yeah, go. They wouldn't do that. So they have to keep that little secret. Maybe it didn't come out. Maybe after all the turmoil of these being killed, Lucilla's like, Lucius, if I revealed your identity, you could have the crown. And he's like, nah, don't want it. And then she doesn't, and they just take off. Which would be nice. Like, again, I do wish them this peaceful, happy ending. I do. But I also read that Ridley Scott kind of looks at the ending of Gladiator II as like the ending of The Godfather. So he's like, yeah, I'm already toying with the idea of Gladiator III, which again, if that's the case, sea lamprey. Like, I think I would be horrified, but that's the point, right? So maybe even for part 3, we could have a female gladiator. That would be revolutionary, wouldn't it? Yeah. Just some thoughts here. So I haven't watched The Godfather, but I read the Wikipedia entry to find out what is the ending of The Godfather. And unfortunately, so the thing is, the main character in The Godfather, he didn't want to have anything to do with his family. He wanted to be very far off of them. Like this, he didn't want to take over the family's business. Reminds you of someone? But in the end, he's the one to take over. So, if we follow that logic, Lucius here would be somehow in charge. We could go like, okay, so I wouldn't like that, but it would also be a possibility to be like, okay, so Lucius is now the heir to Maximus, our favorite general, kind of appointed successor of Marcus, our second favorite general. Like, how about he takes over the Roman military. I was like, yeah, of course. Would he do that after the military raided his home, killed his wife, abducted his child, maimed a lot of people? Like, would he do that? I don't know. Does that make sense for an epic? Is that epic enough for Ridley Scott? Like, what is his idea? Like, I'm not quite sure about that. You know, I'm a bit lost with predicting the actual ending. Like, he will not take the throne. No, he's not like a phallus in some weird version. No, but will his child be like? Technically, like if the child were to take it, like he could be the military general, and these two could rule together. But it's like he wants to change things for the better. You know what Marcus over here couldn't do. Like that could be his new task, because I'm pretty convinced that he will survive. Right? I'm pretty convinced about that. Why? Because the child is still around. Again, if the child is dead, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that the child will live. Like Pedro's not going to kill a child. Like no, no. Right. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. Do I have anything else on my script? No. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We'll see. I guess we have to see for the movie, right? Which is great, because I said I wanted to predict the entire film, and I'm like, well, about the ending, let's see. Well, my prediction: he's gonna make it out alive. He's not. He's not. He's not. He's not. She is. She's not. Like, we know that's low-hanging fruit. Like, she dies in the trailer already. So, like, but he's gonna live. The child's gonna live. Mom's gonna live. And hopefully, at least one of the friends is gonna live. Right? But all of these dying. All of these dead. Poor Marcus. Poor him. Right? So the question is, what do we need the sequel? Like, even if we forget history and we're like, well, sure, like these two brought about the end of the Roman Empire, which we already established. Not really, you know. Again, I'm not a historian. Like, historians, please answer that question. Like, can you say that these two brought about the end of the empire? I'm not quite sure. Like, I don't know. I know that in the 3rd century, which we are in, there was like a time of upheaval and unrest, you know, there was very much a crisis in the empire, but that was still like, I think 40 years from their reign. So there were people between these conflicts. So I'm not quite sure about that. And if Ridley Scott is thinking about Gladiator 3, he kind of has to follow history. A little bit. Like, he can't be like, sure, so Lucius is like, no, I don't want the throne. Let's declare the empire a republic. Because there was a Roman Republic, right? Yeah, but that was before the empire. The empire kind of dissolved in like the 5th century. So, no, this is not an option. Not historically, right? So, what is it? Okay, so the question, do we need the sequel then, right? Why is it a sequel in the first place and not just a remake, right? Why, if Paul Mescal is going to wear the armor anyway, why didn't he wear it from the beginning? You know? Well, even though there are some parallels between these two characters, they're not the same, right? I mean, obviously, I'm just speculating, and we will have to save most of the question for after we've actually seen the film, right? But this is not the same. Like, Maximus over here was very much a believer in this Roman idea, right? So is Lucilla, right? The only reason that he's defying the empire is because he wanted revenge, not because he wanted to change it, right? He was very much the one executing the power of the Roman Empire as a general. So is Marcus over here. And now Marcus, 20 years later, after 25 years after the first film, he's the character that questions the idea of an empire, the greatness of an empire. So does he, right? These two characters, they are very much the critical voices, more or less. I'm not sure if I'm just reading that into that, but they could be the critical voices questioning the idea of absolute power, which these three want, right? So that would be interesting, right? Well, okay, so we have reached the end. What is my final prediction? Yeah, he's not going to take the throne. I don't want it. like again, I'm a bit. I was very convinced that he wasn't going to take it, but then Ridley Scott said this thing about Godfather, and I'm like, if he's thinking of Gladiator III, then he kind of needs it. But it would be so sad. It would be so sad if his character arc was like, no, I don't want to be like them, and in the end, he did become them. One of them, you know. But again, in order to beat them, maybe you have to become much worse, right? But I don't believe it. Like, I think it's more like a classical hero's journey. So I hope for that. Again, I will be shocked when I'm in the theater and he's crowned in the end. Like, do I think a crown would look good on this not so red hair? Yes, but what does that say? If that's the case, what's the message of the film? Yeah, we'll leave that for in 5 weeks or something when we've actually seen the film. Yeah. Okay, so if you've made it this far into the video, thank you. Well, thank you very much. This was fun. I probably forgot most of my script. Like, I didn't really look at it, which means that I probably forgot some major elements, but that's lost. If that's the case, we'll address that. Maybe in another video. So if you've still stuck around, thank you. If you're interested to leave your own speculations, especially for the ending. Like, I'm not quite sure about the ending. Not quite sure. But I want to say that, you know, we'll see. Right? Maybe I will address all of my speculations after I've actually seen the film. If I was very, very wrong with my predictions, like, if I was super wrong, like, in terms of chronology, I'm fine. If things are moved around, that's very possible. Yeah, that's very well possible. But if there are some major plot points that I didn't guess, or that I guessed wrong, yeah, I will hide in, like, you know, somewhere. Yeah. But if not, I would be so proud. Like, I would be so proud. My professors, yeah, they wouldn't expect that. But yeah, so that would be so interesting if that goes correct. And also, like, if I did guess any of these plot points correctly, right? That doesn't mean the film is bad, right? It just means that it follows some patterns that if you have read a lot or watched a lot of television, you can kind of guess. And also, like, I have to admit that most of their backgrounds were given in the article, right? So the story kind of writes itself. But that is brave to say, in case I was very wrong, right? Okay, so enough of my rambling. I will see this movie as soon as it gets out. So again, don't bother to tell me if I was wrong. And if you're like Ridley Scott and you wonder whether I have a life, or you want to advise me to get a life, well, thank you, first of all. And I do have a life, right? So it's just a little part of it. Right? I was so excited for this film. I still am. Still excited to see it. And I'm rambling, so this is the end of it. I'm a bit scared to watch it now, but yeah. This is about survival, so we'll get there, okay? Thank you for watching, and goodbye.